44-yard line and pushed in to the Cincinnati bench by Leon Hall, a 38-yard return. Tony Romo comes off his best season with 26 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and as you see, over 4,400 passing yards. And Romo will play tonight 1 or 2 series. If the first series goes, let's say, 8 or 9 plays, that'll probably be it. If it's 3 and out, he may come back in one more time. And they start with Barber in the backfield. Romo on a tight roll, looks to his right, and on a sideline route, the pass is incomplete, intended for Miles Austin coming off his breakout year. Adam Pac-Man Jones covering on the play.
Yeah, he was trying to go by Adam Jones, but he looked more like Pac-Man on this one. This was tremendous coverage against the Cowboys' best receiver. It has been one of the most pleasant surprises of the camp thus far, the play of Adam Pac-Man Jones, a very legitimate third corner for the Bengals, and they have 2 good ones already.
Out of football last year, suspended before that in 2007. And when Pac-Man can slide under the radar, that's saying something, at least for the moment he is. And that pass is caught on the other side as he goes to Austin, this time covered by Leon Hall, and that is good for a first down.
Basically the same looking kind of route. They decide if you can't go get it against Pac-Man, we'll try it against Leon Hall, top of your screen. Comes in, slides back out. I tell you, it has been one of those things that everybody's talking about in Dallas, though, is the offensive lineman Doug Free taking over for Flozell Adams. He did a nice job.
Now Barber, and Barber cuts over the left side to the 44. They are loaded at running back. A lot of teams right now with 2 backs. The 1-back days are not gone forever, but you're not going to see a guy like Emmitt Smith unless he's Chris Johnson right now in the league. You've got Barber. You have Felix Jones, who is explosive, can score from anywhere, and Tashard Choice, who played a lot on third down last year. So a 3-headed monster as Felix Jones comes in here on 2nd down and 5 from the Cincinnati 44-yard line. And this is Jones, and he'll be taken down a yard shy. So with Flozell Adams gone, and right now he's in the Pittsburgh camp, they go to Free, who saw a lot of action last year, and a guy who can get downfield and throw downfield blocks very well.
Well, Flozell Adams manned this spot for a long time, but Doug Free is a guy that has much more athleticism at the tackle position. They think that not only is he going to be a good pass blocker, but his ability to pull, his ability to move, to get downfield is going to be a tremendous asset. We saw it once in the game last year. We sprinted 40 yards down the field to make a block.
Now Barber comes back in, and he picks up the first down. So they went to Jones, then they come back to Barber, and that's something that you might see the Cowboys do a lot this year. Not necessarily leave one guy in, but alternate them and even use Tashard Choice. You could see 3 of their backs in on the same drive at any given time this season with Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator. Jones now comes in. The ball is at the 38-yard line. Jones trying to get outside, gets by one man. There's a flag, the first of the game. Ron Winter is the referee before Jones is shoved out of bounds at about the line of scrimmage.
Holding. Offense number 65. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
That's the center. That's Andre Gerard.
Well, Andre Gerard, probably the best of the Dallas Cowboys offensive linemen. I'd have to say Mark Colombo qualifies probably as the leader up front, but you can forget all that. The attention this season's on the left tackle. I've never seen more attention paid to a left tackle to start a season than I have with the Dallas Cowboys this year.
They also picked up Alex Barron, the left tackle from the St. Louis Rams, so we'll see him tonight. Or not tonight because he's hurt, but we'll see him during preseason, obviously, as the pass is intended for Roy Williams, and he's covered there by Leon Hall. Hall and Jonathan Joseph. Joseph not playing tonight because he is slightly injured. Probably as good a pair of corners as any team in the league has right now.
Yeah, and those corners are going to get some help this year because Antoine Odom is back for Mike Zimmer's defense, and this is a team that definitely is taking a step in the right direction. They ranked 4th defensively a season ago, and Antoine Odom right there had 7 sacks in the first 2 games before getting hurt in week 6.
5 in one game against Green Bay. And that pass is caught by John Phillips, who would be on the depth chart, your number 3 tight end. Tackled there by Keith Rivers. It will be 3rd down and 12.
On the end of your screen there, Doug Free working against Antoine Odom. And Doug Free just in there kind of scrapping away and doing a pretty good job of it. You've got to believe that if that position is solidified with all the other weapons that the Cowboys have, this offense should pick up right where they left off a season ago, and that was pretty good stuff.
Cowboys spread it out in the gun now on 3rd down and 12. And sidestepping to his left and feeling that heat is Romo, and he hits Roy Williams for a 1st down at the 19-yard line. You had Dhani Jones coming in, putting the heat on Romo, but he gets it away, and on 3rd and 12, a 21-yard gain, 1st down.
Well, the Bengals come with a blitz from Dhani Jones, their middle linebacker right here, and he's going to go up the middle, but watch the way the Cowboys pick this thing up. Beautiful job there. I think that's Jason Witten stepping in and making the block. And maybe the best news of all, if Roy Williams starts making some plays down the field for the Dallas Cowboys, just going to open things up for Miles Austin and Jason Witten.
From the 19 on the game's opening drive, Romo protected well, spots his man over the middle, and that's Creighton who gets whacked after a short gain. Dhani Jones making the tackle. And for Creighton, he's a guy who was looking to get traded, but now with Austin and with Des Bryant, who's hurt, the rookie, and with Roy Williams, Creighton is a guy who's going to have a hard time coming out of the number 4 spot. And there is Des Bryant with that boot. He won't play in all likelihood in preseason. There's the boot on his right foot. Hopes to be back for the opener at Washington on September the 12th. Romo to the outside, and that pass is caught by Creighton, who's able to spin around. He got position on Adam Jones, and that's a 1st down.
Well, a lot of people think that Tony Romo is going to have something to do with Patrick Creighton staying around for a long time. Watch the timing on this throw. Just a classic back shoulder come up. Adam Jones in bump and run coverage, and how are you going to stop that? That's impossible, but that's confidence between a quarterback and a receiver, and even though he's making $2 million, I don't think Patrick Creighton's going anywhere this year.
Romo sharp on the opening drive, 5 of 9. 5 of 7 for 59. You got a marker here as the ball gets loose in the end zone, and for the moment the Cincinnati Bengals are able to recover it. That's Leon Hall. It would be a touchback contingent on the penalty. Roy Williams with a force.
Offside. Defense number 68 lined up in the neutral zone. Penalized half the distance to the goal. Repeat 1st down.
Jonathan Fanene, the defensive tackle, and so that costs Cincinnati an opportunity to come up with the football in the end zone. Fanene lining up in the neutral zone.
Well, I'm sure the Cowboys fans, if for no other reason, are breathing a sigh of relief. Look at the top of your screen. You can see Fanene's helmet just over the ball, and that's where the penalty was brought out. They really are tough on that in preseason, trying to set a standard.
11th play of the drive coming. Barber is the running back. And Romo to the corner of the end zone and too high, intended for Williams. If it seems like we're saying Roy Williams a lot, well, we are. There's one on each side. The one on Cincinnati is the former Cowboy defensive back.
Yeah, and the Cincinnati Bengals and Mike Zimmer in particular are thrilled with the way that he's playing. You know, he got up to about 238 pounds or so when he left Dallas, and now he's about 20 pounds lighter than that. Much more agile, much more capable of coverage back there in the secondary, but he could always hit, and you saw it there.
Went to 5 Pro Bowls as a member of the Cowboys. 2nd and goal. Faking, throwing, and that pass is incomplete, and again intended for Williams, and Domata Peko came in and plants Romo. It'll be 3rd down and goal.
Yeah, I don't think Domata Peko could believe that they just let him go inside. He got a good shot on Romo, and really Roy Williams was wide open. He took his time on this move and got way inside of Adam Jones. That should have been a touchdown. But Peko got through without anybody block him at all. That little pump fake out of Tony Romo cost him just enough time where he couldn't get it off.
5.5-minute drive. This the 13th play. The back is Felix Jones on 3rd down and goal. And Romo swings it out to Jones, and that's incomplete. So the Cincinnati defense stiffens after they forced what would have been a fumble for a touchback and had that negated by the offside penalty. They get tough on 1st and goal and set up a 4th and goal now and a field goal attempt.
Well, coverage across the board. Leon Hall doing a great job on Miles Austin. Jones covered in the outside. Pac-Man had Roy Williams. Jason Witten completely covered. And really the red zone woes for the Dallas Cowboys, at least on this first drive, pick up where they left off a season ago.
Here's David Beeler, their new place kicker, who was the kickoff man last year. And he bangs it through from 20 yards, or about the distance of an extra point, except it's worth 3. And Dallas leads 3-0 in the Hall of Fame game. Pageantry of this weekend. They have a luncheon for all the Hall of Famers on Friday, and then a big banquet on Friday night when they get their jackets, and then the parade. And, of course, today the Hall of Fame game. And, well, you've got the last time Terrell Owens was a number 2 receiver, as he is right now, to Ocho Cinco, it was to the man you just saw leaving the shot, Jerry Rice. And we'll talk to Jerry and Emmett Smith at halftime. And as I said at the top of the show, all of the Hall of Famers at one time or another tonight. David Beeler kicking off, and this is Bernard Scott from the 8-yard line with great speed to the 32-yard line. So Carson Palmer will lead the Bengal offense out onto the field in Canton. Dallas 3, Cincinnati nothing. Very often. But you've got Cedric Benson, who had a great year last year, the one-time Chicago Bear, who got rejuvenated in Cincinnati as the back. And Benson with a gain of about 6. And Chris, as we know, Palmer wanted to get Terrell Owens to Cincinnati, and the Bengals looked at him back in March and passed on him and went for Antonio Bryant, who was leaving Tampa Bay. Now, Bryant got hurt, so then what Owens did is he showed up at a school, a public school in Manhattan Beach, California, where a lot of the NFL guys go during the offseason, guys like Tom Brady and Matt Leinart and even Matt Barkley, who's the SC quarterback, and they go to work out. And one day Palmer is throwing at school, and here comes Ocho Cinco out onto the field with Terrell Owens. And the pass is now caught by Owens. So Owens makes his first grab as a Bengal. So Ocho Cinco knew about it. He had signed off on it. Terrell shows up. Palmer says, hey, man, he said, I got to talk you up in Cincinnati. And there he is wearing number 81.
Yeah, he ended up calling Marvin Lewis. And the punchline was his down-the-field speed reminds me of Chris Henry. Chris Henry, the young man that passed away, unfortunately, a year ago, had the blazing speed that made such a difference for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. And when Marvin Lewis heard that Terrell Owens still had that kind of speed, it was right now he tried to get him signed.
And he goes right back to Owens, and you have a penalty here. Terrence Newman, the Pro Bowl cornerback of the Cowboys, covering on the play. Ron Winter.
Illegal motions. Offense number 85. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
How's that for sweet irony? So Owens makes the catch, but it's negated because Ocho Cinco is offside.
They're competitive, but not that competitive. There wasn't intentional on any of that.
Right.
Boy, I tell you, Terrell Owens, I watched a bunch of tape on him. I watched 3 straight games that he played last season, and I really believe he has plenty left in the tank. I was surprised by what he was able to do in Buffalo.
Owens is 36. Ocho Cinco is 32. And here is Benson taking it up to the 40-yard line. Bengals needed a running back, and so they went and took a chance on a guy who was, for his years in Chicago, considered a bust, since he was the 4th guy overall picked in the draft by Chicago. Never panned out there. Had a lot of trouble. Cincinnati took a shot with them, and take a look at those numbers, and that's with missing 3 games with injuries.
Exactly right. I really think he's one of the real underrated players in the game. Slow to the hole, fast through it, exactly the way you draw it up.
Halfway through the opening quarter, the Bengals on their first drive. 2nd down and 14. And Palmer to the outside, and that's Newman covering Owens. And it'll be 3rd down and 14. You know, as the season starts, Chris, you're going to have Ocho Cinco, you're going to have Owens. The number 1 cornerback on the opposition will line up over whom most times, do you feel?
You know, that's a really good question. I think that a lot of teams are going to end up trying to take away T.O. deep and then try and get some help against Ocho Cinco underneath. I still think that T.O. is the bigger of the two deep threats on this team.
3rd and 14. Pressure is on. Palmer gets hit. Pass is incomplete. Intended for Owens. So he was calling Terrell's number a lot. This time on a little dump off, and Palmer goes down. And that time it was Stephen Bowen and Jay Ratliff. Ratliff coming off a great season, who got in to put the pressure on.
Ratliff's going to end up coming all the way around the outside out here and getting the hit. This was a pretty slow stun, and Carson was holding the ball for a while. Got a little help on the other side as well from Stephen Bowen. Marcus Spears was injured the other day and not in this game, so they're going to look at some new tackles on the defensive side.
Kevin Huber, the left-footed kicker, will send it down to Titus Ryan. Ryan collects it at the 13-yard line, and there's a flag down at the 25-yard line at the Dallas 25. And also down as Ron Winter makes the call.
During the kick, holding number 16 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
And that's Chris Crocker, one of their starting safeties, who's down there. Look at Emmitt Smith on the sideline. 3-0 Dallas. The 9th of September will be there. It'll be Minnesota at New Orleans, and then Sunday night football that week. These Dallas Cowboys go to Washington in Mike Shanahan's first game of his tenure as the Washington Redskins head coach during the regular season. That's Tashard Choice picking up a couple. You saw Tashard Choice rolling around on the ground. Crocker rolling around on the ground before we went to the break. And there is the Cincinnati safety who needed some assistance from two other teammates to get off the field. And they're working on Crocker on the Cincinnati bench. We'll get a report when we can. Jabril Wilson comes in to take his spot in the lineup. 2nd down and 8. The new quarterback is John Kitna, who did not take a snap last season during the regular season, and this time he's able to find John Phillips. The tight end makes his second catch of the night. Caught one from Romo on the first drive. That's a gain of 24, first down Dallas.
Well, I tell you what, that's just a thing of beauty. We talked about the back shoulder throw a little bit earlier from Tony Romo. Watch this one from John Kitna in the slot there. Phillips goes up, just simply dumps it in right behind him. No way the bump and run coverage can find it. I tell you, this offense looks good, and everything we've been told about John Kitna in training camp is he's been razor sharp.
From the 33-yard line, Kitna with a ton of experience. Pressured. Kitna started his career at Seattle. He was a starter there. Then he was with Cincinnati. He spent 5 years there. Was a starter in Detroit, 3 years there. In fact, he was the starter when Carson Palmer was drafted, and Palmer didn't play that year. He just watched Kitna.
Watch this big guy right here. Michael Johnson used to be a defensive lineman. They stood him up and made him an outside linebacker this season, and it was almost kind of one of those experiments like, oh, come on, a guy 6'6" or so. Is he really going to be able to make this transition? They said they've been blown away by what he's done standing up and playing linebacker. Very excited about it. He gets the start because Ray Malaluga out of this one.
Yeah, Malaluga with a hamstring pull to the 35-yard line. Goes to Tashard Choice. And that will make it 3rd down and 8. We're going to see Kitna for at least a couple of series, and then before the half is done, we're going to get a look, and certainly a lot in the second half, at Stephen McGee, and there he is, drafted in the 4th round last year out of Texas A&M. In fact, McGee is ready to go right now.
No question about it, but he's not going to get Kitna out of there. He hasn't played in a long time.
3rd and 8. 5 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Dallas on top 3-0. Fired over the middle, and reaching for it is Phillips, and he makes the catch. Well, he's not going to supplant Jason Witten, and Martellus Bennett, who is injured and not playing tonight, is the number 2 guy. But John Phillips looking for more playing time for Wade Phillips Cowboys. Gain of 16 there.
We might just get it, too. Let's take a look at Alex Barron over here on this side. He, of course, in that battle as well. Pretty nifty guy. They always talk about how long his arms are, and played a lot of games with the St. Louis Rams. they're pretty excited. He's a little better than they thought he might be coming over.
And now you got Creighton on an end around, runs into his own man and then gets surrounded. Dislocated pinky for Barron earlier in the week. I think I mentioned early on that he might not play, but there he is tonight with the hand wrapped up. But a guy who, as you say, along with Doug Free, are the guys who are going to have to take the place of the long-standing stalwart work of Flozell Adams.
How about Pac-Man up there just in a little fist fight with Sam Hurd, and he got the better of it. They were really surprised with Pac-Man that he came in. The first time they tried him out, he wasn't in such good shape. The second time around, he came in and blew him away.
2nd and 7. And a little miscommunication right there because, among other things, there's no eligible receiver in the neighborhood.
Michael Johnson enjoyed running around the edge there, almost got there, and Mike Tepper, the former all Pac-10 guard, needs to make a play out there. He was the only one in the vicinity. I tell you, this, it's exciting. The Bengals are going to flirt a little bit this season with playing a 34 defense, and one of the reasons that they feel like they can is they've got some guys now that can transition down between that 4-3 in and the 34 outside linebacker, and now you see Michael Johnson with his hand on the ground.
And they send 5, and Kitna gets flushed out, nearly gets sacked, and then gets hit as he throws, and that wobbly pass intended for Phillips is incomplete. Fanani put the heat on, and the Cowboys will punt.
Yeah, they were saying that Kitna the other day. There we go. Uh-oh. Is that Odom?
It is. And that's Antoine Odom, whose season was cut short last year after he had 8 sacks in their first 6 games with the Achilles pull. And that was enough to lead the team over the course of the season. Right now needing some assistance.
Matt McBriar to punt for the Cowboys.
4th down now, and Matt McBriar comes in to punt. Quan Cosby, the return man for the Bengals, and Cosby will signal for the fair catch and make it at the 11-yard line.
Cosby with a fair catch at the 10-yard line. Bengals
playing offensive line, there's no greater feeling than to be able to move a man from point A to point B against his will. I tried it, I liked it, and I was playing offensive line.
Russ Grimm, one of the Hogs, and right now the assistant head coach under Ken Wisenhunt with the Arizona Cardinals, going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. Carson Palmer in on the second drive. You've got Bernard Scott now in the backfield, and Palmer on first down slings it to the outside, and that is caught by Owens, so he keeps going that way as Owens gets taken down at the 20. And on the subject of Russ Grimm, here he is with Andrea.
Thank you very much, Al. Well, Russ, 11 seasons with the Redskins. What's the significance to you of playing your entire career with one team?
I mean, it's great when you have a chance to stay at one place. Obviously in today's system with the free agency and the salary cap, that wouldn't have happened back then. But they kind of kept rolling us over. One year I was the highest paid. The next year Jacoby came up. The next year Bostic came up. And we rolled like that. But, I mean, you build a lot of chemistry, and there was some consistency up front. And like I said, I wouldn't be here without those guys. I played with some good players.
Well, speaking of those good players, one day your coach Joe Bugle looked at the offensive line and said, "You guys are just a bunch of hogs," and hence was born the nickname, and you were the head hog. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's special. It's one of those things where, those memories you have for the rest of your life, and it's not all just on Sundays. It's the memories, during the week, after practice. It's at practice. It's at some of the games. It's in the locker room. Things are said, and I mean, you grow together. You watch the families grow up together, and I mean, it's special.
4 Super Bowl rings, 3 as a player. What's the most memorable moment for you of your career?
I got to say when John went down the sideline on 70 chip 4th and 1, I mean, that was my, first Super Bowl win. We just came off an 8-8 season where, as a rookie, I started out 0-5, so I didn't think we were ever going to get that far, and we turned it around pretty quick. And from there, everything else is a bonus.
All right, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And by the way, Al, we didn't see them in the audience, but Bill Bidwell, Coach Wisenhunt, and several players from the Cardinals were there last night for Russ Grimm.
Oh, that's great. And he's talking about John, as in John Riggins, going down the sideline in that Super Bowl. Palmer under heat and gets surrounded. Dumped at the 23-yard line. Among those in on the play, Victor Butler and Stephen Bowen.
Good coverage down the field. Here's Terrell Owens on the right side. Pretty good coverage on him. And then on the other side, really where Carson was trying to go is Chad Ochocinco, but it's Jamar Wall, who's had a very good camp for the Cowboys and making an effort to get on this team, and he's trying to play his way on it.
Kevin Huber comes in. This is his second punt. Palmer in the 2 series now 2 out of 5 for 18 yards. Cletus Gordon will return it for Dallas if it stays in bounds, and it doesn't. It's a short kick, and it's out of bounds up at around the 45-yard line. Russ Grimm, head hog, chief hog, Super Bowl rings, Hall of Fame bust. Palmer going over things with Owens after 2 series. Owens has caught both of Palmer's completions, but now Kitna leads this Dallas drive and loses the football. It's on the ground, and can the Bengals come up with it? There are 3 Cowboys and 1 Bengal there, and that was Fanene who forced it, and he got by Barron, and right there with a golden opportunity to come up with the fumble, but not being able to come up with it was one of the Bengal defensive linemen.
Alex Barron right here is going to struggle for the first time as a Cowboy. Fanene, who took over for Antoine Odom and really played well a season ago for the Bengals, just beats him with speed around the edge. And that's been the knock on Alex Barron. He's a guy who was a first-round draft pick, but he's just been okay so far in the NFL.
That was Orion Harris, who had a great chance to come up with the football, but it was between his legs and he couldn't get it before it was recovered by the Dallas Cowboys. Hurd makes the catch here in the final half minute of the first quarter.
They were semi trying to convince me, Al, that there was a little tackle competition going on over there, but I have to say, at least thus far, it looks like Doug Free has solidified that position by the appearances that we have out here. Alex Barron struggling a little bit, but Doug Free, who played so well a season ago replacing Mark Colombo, has been terrific in this one.
At least through the first quarter, which has now come to an end with the score of the Dallas Cowboys 3, the Cincinnati Bengals nothing. And Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. For lying to the NCAA, and look at him there, Chris.
Talk to the coaches. They talk about the wow factor with this young man, and you saw a little bit right there. They also talk about comparing him a bit to Larry Fitzgerald, his ability to go up and get balls that are thrown high. They think he is going to be their blitz buster. Anytime teams come up and they want to play that one-on-one bump and run coverage and try and blitz Tony Romo, they think they just throw it up in the air to Dez Bryant, let him make a play.
Jerry Jones called him on draft day, and he said, Dez, are you ready to be a Cowboy? And that was a dream come true, because Bryant grew up as a Cowboy fan. On 3rd and long now, the catch is made, and he had the first down. Ogletree for the moment, but then his momentum was carrying him back, and he's going to come up about a yard shy on 4th and 1 now.
Well, Kevin Ogletree made a play. He's a guy with blazing speed, and they say he needs more consistency out there on the field. Well, here he makes the play, but then sort of staggers his way back across the first down line. There it is. Nobody hits him. He just lost his balance and lost the first down.
12 yards on a 3rd and 13, and so they will punt from midfield. 4th down and 1 now. Matt McBriar will send it in the direction of Quan Cosby. And high into the night sky. Fair catch called for at the 9-yard line. Back to Dez Bryant. Last year there was The suspension at Oklahoma State, got himself a trainer. Then this year he goes to camp. He doesn't know what the protocol is, the rookie hazing situation. So one day Roy Williams, the receiver, wants Bryant to carry his pads off the field, and Bryant says, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to play football. And it created a media firestorm. As some wag said, however, it should have been the other way around, that Williams should have carried Bryant's pads off the field, but Roy would have dropped them. Now, some wag said that, but we just had to report it.
Not you would have never said anything like
I'm just
that.
reporting it.
Yeah, so you're a reporter, so that's what you would do. You would report things like that.
Bernard Scott. But it's funny because we talked to Bryant about it, and he seems like an engaging young man anyway, and a lot of the people around the Cowboys say he is. And he basically said, hey, look, if I knew that was the deal, I'd have taken his pants. I would have taken his whole uniform off the field for him.
He just didn't know. He thought that Roy was messing around with him, and he tried to convince us, and I think he did, that they all have a pretty good relationship. Is it competitive? You bet it is. They're all trying to play for that starting position out there, but it didn't seem to be quite as big a deal as it was made out to be.
2nd and 7, and Bernard Scott up to the 14-yard line. These days, everything's a big deal.
And fast. I mean, the minute it happens, it's on somebody's tweet or whatever it is that's flying out there. And Roy Williams, here's a guy, he takes more heat for a guy that caught 7 touchdown passes a season ago because he was traded for, all the number 1 picks and got all the money and all that kind of stuff. And he's not going to live up to it. He's just not. He's a good player. I don't think he's ever going to be a great player.
Meanwhile, J.T. O'Sullivan is the quarterback as Palmer was in for 2 series, and now they go to their number 2 guy. And a little bit later on, we're going to see Carson's brother Jordan, who's the number 3 guy. So not a particularly memorable first series for one J.T. O'Sullivan, a very rapid 3-and-out, and it's 4th down at the 14-yard line.
And J.T. O'Sullivan needs to prove himself a bit here. He got a chance to play last year at the end of the season against the Jets. It did not go well. He was very anxious to get back out on the field and make amends, but not a great start. Of course, the other thing you've got to talk about, too, when the second offensive lines come into the game, it's not fun.
Wait till the number 3 guys get in there.
Yeah.
Here's Huber. And that punt will bound away from Gordon. And Gordon has to go back, and then there's a flag down at the 29-yard line after Gordon was already down. A flag is thrown at the end of the play.
You drop that helmet now and go into the head and neck area of a defenseless player who is stopped or on the ground, you're going to get it every time.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit. Number 27 of the kicking team, 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
That's Jabril Wilson coming in late, costing him 15. We have been known as a passing team. 44-yard line, Dallas 1st down. Kitna, the quarterback, and on a draw gives the ball off to Tashard Choice. And one reason that the Cincinnati defense played so brilliantly last year was the work of Mike Zimmer, who did it under the most extraordinary circumstances possible, Chris.
Yeah, he lost his wife, Vicky, which was a horrible thing during the middle of the season, but he just kept on chugging along. They went to Baltimore that week, and he held it together, really didn't talk about it with his teammates at all, and the rest of the defense, and emotionally was able to hold it together, and those players just played like they were possessed that day for him.
Here's Choice. John Phillips threw a block. John Phillips has had a big night at tight end already with 3 catches. Nice block here to help spring Tashard Choice for a gain of 21.
Well, John Phillips is having a heck of a start to this ball game right over here. He's going to end up coming up on the lead. And really what the Cowboys would like to have happen, nice block up front, is for Martellus Bennett to become a bit of the down-the-field receiving threat on this team, because John Phillips does what he just did so well. He can block, he can play fullback, and so far tonight he's proven he can catch the football too. He's having a big night.
At the 30-yard line and moving across the line was Pat Sims, number 90.
Encroachment. Defense number 90. 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
Line of scrimmage now the 25-yard line.
Pat Sims, number 90, right over on the right-hand side of your screen, just a little bit early. Got to be careful with those veteran quarterbacks. Kid that may not have thrown a pass last year, but he knows how to do the snap count and get you.
1st and 5 now from the 25-yard line. And there's a fumble. That's Herb Donaldson, who just came into the game. Jabril Wilson, who was the guy who cost Cincinnati those 15 yards on the penalty on special teams, atones for that. So here is Herb Donaldson. And talk about a tough route to go. You got to go past Marion Barber, Felix Jones, and Tashard Choice to win a spot.
Good luck.
Good luck. Good night and a good tomorrow. John Randall, we'll talk with him when we come back.
Finally tonight he gets his chance to.
Now O'Sullivan on the play fake on first down. Pass is incomplete, intended for Caldwell. John Randall, is he wearing that face paint tonight?
A lot of hard work, dedication, not missing any time, not being injured, plays a part into it. And, also a lot of it goes to my teammates, put me in the right position.
Pain, and that's something that people associate with you. How did that ever start?
Well, I think that got started by me and some of my...
That's terrific. Thank you very much. Oh, and Al, you're going to love John Randall even more. You know what he does in the offseason?
What's that?
Golf 6 days a week.
What's wrong with the 7th? Meanwhile, you got John Randall. Here's Stephen Bowen getting to J.T. O'Sullivan and the flag on the play. So Ron Winter has been busy. But Randall is, what a character.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 4. Penalized at the spot of the foul. And a loss of down. Makes it 4th down.
4th down, and they'll punt. You look at, as we look at the play again, and thinking about John Randall and his career, first we'll take a look at Bowen getting in and forcing the intentional grounding call here.
That was a big loop right there by a big man and Stephen Bowen. And Stephen Bowen's a guy the Cowboys really like. They think he has some real upside to him, sort of a Jim Jeffcoat kind of guy. And he's going to get some opportunity with Marcus Spears being out.
Huber to punt from the back of his end zone as Cincinnati's been able to generate nothing offensively tonight in 4 series. And fielding it now is Gordon, who gets run down at the 44-yard line. 10.5 to go in the opening half in the Hall of Fame game. 3-0 Cowboys on NBC. 3-0 is the score on a hot night. It's 79 at game time. No breeze, though, and Dallas has the ball at its own 45-yard line. With Kitna at the controls and swings it to the outside. And that is caught by Scott Sicko. You know, Chris, I'm thinking about a guy like John Randall. 40 years ago, you're somewhat anonymous because you're a defensive lineman and you're playing on regional television. And then in the last 20 years, not only do you get a lot of national television exposure, but guys get mic'd. And when NFL Films started doing that and people started to see John Randall, he's the kind of guy they gravitated toward. They wanted to pay attention to. They watched him a lot. And he became almost a bigger-than-life guy. And that's something. He might have made the Hall of Fame anyway, regardless. But part of the reason I think that people love John Randall, a lot of people do, is listening to him having been mic'd. For instance.
Big dogs are in the house! You're such a slow guy. I'm going to put you down on my scrapbook. You know that for that?
Oh, really? I'm going to put you on my Christmas list then. We should go fishing together.
He's classic.
Phenomenal.
You know, one of the things that he used to do, I'll let you call us.
Right, here's McGee. McGee is the new quarterback, and Stephen McGee, the number 3 quarterback, hits Phillips, who's now caught a ball from each of the 3 quarterbacks, and 4 total tonight, first down.
Well, John Phillips having a big night, first of all, but that was a good sign from Stephen McGee. One of the problems that they've had with him is he gets back there and thinks too much. It's like, you can't do that. You got to get back there, have some confidence, see it, and throw it. Watch this. Back foot on the ground, out of there. If he'd have held that one like he'd been doing in the past few camps, that one may not have worked out so well. So a step in the right direction for McGee.
McGee, fourth-round pick out of Texas A&M, native Texan. To the outside goes Tashard Choice. And that's John Phillips leading the block, and Phillips is having a heck of a night. And that's another first down.
Steve McGee, he's physically, you watch him throw in pregame warm-up, and you go, hey, you know, this guy's pretty good. He's has some zip on it. He looks the part, big, tall guy, strong, can move around the pocket, has a little bit of what Romo has, a little bit of that mobility. There comes a point in time where you just have to turn your brain off and turn your instincts on.
6'3" and 222 of the measurements. McGee, 24 years old. From the 21, McGee under pressure, and this time from the blind side comes Michael Johnson. Chris talking about Johnson before, and that time Johnson almost unimpeded with a shot at the quarterback for the sack.
Well, sometimes you also have to know where your protection is its weakest. And that time Tashard Choice was going to try and come across the coverage as Michael Johnson was coming in this way. And if you see that as a quarterback and you know you're not protected, well, there's nothing wrong with throwing the thing out of bounds and living to play another day. 2nd and 10, you survive. 2nd and 19 is tough.
And that's what it is at the moment from the 29-yard line. And McGee with a short drop, and then a very good pass as he hits Ogletree. Picking up about half the distance on that one. McGee last year played quite a bit in preseason. In fact, he threw a touchdown pass against the Tennessee Titans last August the 21st and sprained his MCL in his right knee on the pass, and that was the end of his action for preseason.
So
and, of course, he didn't see anything in the regular season.
Yeah, kind of a strange story in college. He was an option quarterback for 3 years. They brought in a pro-style passing attack his senior season, but he got hurt. So really it had been since high school since he'd really played in a passing style of offense, so a little rusty.
It was John Phillips on the sideline, 3rd down and 6. And Tashard Choice on an inside handoff gets taken down at the 15-yard line, and the Cowboys now with a 4th down, and they'll send in the field goal unit.
It's a nice play that time by Geno Atkins, and I tell you, the Cincinnati Bengals are excited about what this young man may end up doing. I think he's right there. The quickness off the ball is something that they have not had. You see his ability to split the defenders right there. They're hoping for the opportunity to get some push interiorly and then let those guys come around the outside. And here's a pretty good story here too, Al.
Right. The Cowboys last year with Nick Folk starting as their place kicker, and he had done well for 2 years, and then he blew up, and they had to get rid of him. And he's with the Jets right now, and before the field goal attempt, it's a timeout for the Dallas Cowboys, trying to get lined up properly. And, of course, we get lined up properly, too. We don't need a commercial there either.
How about Wade Phillips, though? Wade Phillips looks good, doesn't he? Lost those 40 pounds, and over there he said, you know, when you're a young man and you lose 40 pounds, people say, hey, you look pretty good. When you're a little bit older and you lose 40 pounds, they go, are you sick?
Right. Well, he hardly looks emaciated.
He said he sneaks a meal every once in a while in there. But for David Beeler, this is these are big games for him. You know, this is the Dallas Cowboys. This is a Super Bowl contending team. And they're trying to pull off a Morton Anderson with this guy. He has a huge leg, great kickoffs. Now can they make him an accurate field goal kicker? So all these kicks are important.
34-yarder. He might be the best kickoff man in the league. Can he be their field goal kicker as well? And that one is good enough.
Whoa.
Just inside the left upright. 34-yard field goal. And we'll talk to Floyd Little when we come back. Dallas on top, 6-0 in the Hall of Fame game.
Yes, I can, because the good in you is better than the worst in most. Choice is yours. Be the best that you can be.
Floyd Little, and it was a beautiful introduction as well last night by his son Mark, and we'll talk with Floyd in just a moment after the kickoff. Here is Beeler. Sends it toward the western end zone where it's juggled and picked back up, and this is Adam Jones, and Pac-Man out past the 20. And he gets thrown into the Cincinnati bench. Not much room on the sideline there. And speaking of the sideline, Andrew.
And because it took 30 years, I can't be mad at that. I'm in.
You were known as the franchise, and you really almost saved the Broncos from certain relocation. What impact do you also your presenter?
Well, Mark was shot on campus, and he flatlined twice on the way to the hospital, and he survived. He lost.
Knows how articulate and how beautiful that presentation was. And in Floyd's speech, as you say, very inspirational. 3rd down and 10, and that catch is made. And just for the moment, it looked like Jordan Shipley might have had enough of the first down, but he is then forced back. They'll give him forward progress only out to the 39.5-yard line, and they will be short of the first down by inches at that spot. And it looks like they're going to line up to go for it, but O'Sullivan may be trying to catch him off guard, but doesn't have a play. Looking over toward the bench, and now they have to bring in the punting group.
Yeah, it always helps when you have a play. Jordan Shipley right here, and Carson said he's one of those young rookies that you don't have to tell him what to do twice. Now, he would have been better served by pressing that up a little bit more because he had to come back and get the ball, and it cost himself the first down. And I'm going to guess Carson is telling him that right now. You got to know where that line is, drive past it, because as you come back, you cannot lose that first down.
This is Huber's 5th punt of the first half.
And worst.
And takes a Dallas bounce down to the 41. 4:10 to go in the half. 6-zip, Dallas. Donated into the Hall of Fame. And
you used to look good in those, man.
Never.
That golden tan of yours.
Yeah, right. Cosell in that gold jacket. That was classic, though. He hated him. From the 39-yard line, make it the 38. Dallas starts this drive. Tashard Choice flanking McGee in the backfield. And this is Scott Sicko, who takes the ball up to the 45-yard line for a gain of 7.
The most watched left tackle battle in the NFL. We have Doug Free, who I think had a terrific night tonight. Watch him step inside, pick up the stunt coming to the outside. Then Alex Barron is going to get beaten by Fanene coming around the edge. Come right back to Doug Free. Watch this run block. Gets all over Antoine Odom and gets him out of there by unanimous decision in their first contest. I think it is clearly Doug Free's night.
2nd down and 3, and the catch is made for a first down. Going out of bounds is Jesse Holley, going right to the sideline and making the grab before he steps out. First-year player out of North Carolina.
Yeah, if you're an old option quarterback, you can make a throw like that on the run, but this mobility is going to serve him well, especially as a backup, because backups get blitzed all the time. He's out there, turns his shoulders, makes a pretty throw. Good play. I think McGee has been pretty impressive so far.
5 out of 5, as you see. 11 yards per pass. 3 minutes to go in the half, and that's his first incomplete pass. He threw that a little bit behind Kevin Ogletree. 2nd and 10.
On cue, the blitz came. You get a young quarterback that hits a pass against you. Mike Zimmer said, okay, we're going to check him out here. As soon as he starts to look settled, here they come. The Bengals with everybody up. He's going to bring the blitz. Deion Anderson did a nice job picking it up, and looked like McGee just held on to it a little bit.
2nd and 10 from the 43-yard line. And McGee throws that one too high. Cowboys have been training indoors. They've been in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. Broke camp there, went to Dallas, and then flew up here. They'll go back to Dallas for a couple of days, play a game Thursday night there against Oakland, and then they go out to California. They go to Oxnard for about 2 weeks and train there.
Hey, when you're America's team, you got to get around a little bit.
You bet.
Got to visit the people.
A lot of people thinking, well, that's too much traveling, and Jerry Jones keeps pointing out, hey, look, one year we played in Tokyo, One year we played in London, and in each of those seasons we wound up winning a Super Bowl. 3rd and 10. And McGee can't get out of trouble. Shifting the shoulders before Geno Atkins, number 97, comes in to record the sack.
I'll tell you, Geno Atkins is now doing exactly what they thought that he could do. His speed, his quickness, would not be surprised if he is in this game a lot this season for the Bengals. They have good defensive tackles, but they have not had quick defensive tackles that can get pressure like a John Randall or a Warren Sapp or one of those guys. And I'm certainly not comparing Geno Atkins to those guys, but that quickness and that push up the middle really bothers quarterbacks.
Matt McBriar sends it down to the 11-yard line. There's a penalty there, and Shipley, an ill-advised attempt at a return. Danny McCray, a rookie out of LSU, makes the tackle, and Ron Winter's crew has been pretty busy tonight. Ron Winter's crew is busy a lot of nights.
During the kick, holding. Number 40, the receiving team. Penalized half the distance to the goal. First down.
In all fairness, though, it's not his crew as it will be during the regular season. During the preseason, they kind of mix and match a few guys here and there, and that's what they've done tonight. 2:33 to go. J.T. O'Sullivan, where has he been? Well, started with New Orleans, and then he goes to Green Bay, and then he shifts over to Minnesota, and then he goes to the Patriots, the Panthers, the Lions, the 49ers, and then last year, the Bengals.
Only in the Hall of Fame game would they give you time to read a graphic that long.
Right. To the outside goes Bernard Scott, the backup to Cedric Benson, and another flag. We have had 10 penalties in the game, 10 accepted penalties, and 8 of those have been against the Bengals.
Holding. Offense, number 86. Penalized half the distance to the goal. Repeat, first down.
Daniel Coates, you can make it 9. It was one problem the Bengals had last year. Well, they had a few on offense, but one big problem, a lot of penalties.
Sure did, and problems with the tight end as well. That's the first time I've seen a holding call, though, by the umpire now standing in the backfield way back here as opposed to right in front of the center.
1st and 12 and a fake toss, and then up to the 5-yard line goes Bernard Scott to give them some breathing space, and we go to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left in the opening half in the Hall of Fame game. Dallas leading Cincinnati 6-0. And O'Sullivan swings it out to the near side, and that's caught by Joe Tronzo. Trying to win a spot in the backfield, rookie out of Louisville. Now, Chris talked about the umpire being alongside or parallel to where the referee is going to be. They're taking him away from danger. However, inside 2 minutes in each half, the umpire goes back to his old position because, of course, a lot of teams are going to run the hurry up, and it's much easier for the umpire to spot the ball more quickly.
There he is right back in here in his old spot.
Third and 2 from the 18. And that is incomplete. And one thing that the umpire is going to have, all of them will have to do this year, is be in a little better shape. They're going to have to do a lot more running. You could normally spot the ball and take a couple of steps back. Now you've got to spot the ball and run about 10 yards, 10 or 12 yards to wind up in the spot that's parallel to the referee.
Yeah, and who are the teams that aren't too crazy about this rule change? Teams like the Colts, who like to run that no-huddle offense because the spotting of the ball is going to be a whole lot slower with this style of umpiring.
Kevin Huber getting a workout tonight. Punt number 6 for Cincinnati.
Oh.
And, well,
whoa.
You might as well throw 7 flags on that one. Fair catch is called for. Brandon G. and McCann is the guy who winds up paying the price, and that's the rookie G out of Wake Forest who runs right into the rookie from SMU.
Well, I hope McCann's all right, but gee, they've been trying so hard to get him to be tougher. They said they've been beating him up all through camp because he's not tough enough. Maybe G was trying to prove that he was tough enough. That'll give you nightmares if you're a punt returner. You're used to having a little protection back there. Take a whack and the ball's not even close.
There is no foul for fair catch interference because the player was blocked into the receiver. There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal block, number 29 of the return team. That penalty is declined. During the kick, tripping, number 35 of the return team, penalized 10 yards, first down.
Well, there it was, Teddy Williams pushing him, and they rule that he pushed him right into McCann, and then a tripping call as well.
See the hand in the back. I am not sure. There was a little contact and maybe a nudge, but was he really pushed right into it, or did G really just... I think he's going to go get him no matter what.
Yeah.
Tough call. I can see why the official made the call, though. You could see the hand in the back just about the time he lowered his shoulder pads down, so certainly it looked like a push. I'm just not sure that it was.
1st and 10 Cowboys from their 28-yard line.
Teddy Williams might be the fastest guy on the Cowboys. Free agent rookie, played his college football at Texas San Antonio.
One of the fastest guys in the world, ran a 9.9, 100 meters.
From the 28-yard line now. Pass on the outside is incomplete, intended for Ogletree, but he was out of bounds. And so McGee with the incomplete pass here. McGee taking over for Romo and Kitna, and he'll probably play almost the rest of the game.
2nd down and 10.
Chad Ochocinco there on the sideline trying to tell Ogletree, you got to drag that back foot, man. You got to, come on now. You got to turn around, drag that back foot, get it on around.
And then Owens gets into it as well. 2nd and 10. McGee. And he really gets popped that time by Abdul Hodge. You know, if Terrell really wanted to start something, you know what he would do? He would tell Ochocinco he's going to change his name to Ocho Uno.
And maybe get his own TV show.
That they've got. There they are. Here's why they moved the umpire. As you can see through the years, and the umpires have taken some hellacious shots. And they've also been used by quarterbacks over the years to help provide picks. And a lot of receivers have gotten open because the umpire's been able to pick a defender. And Mike Pereira, our good friend who's did a tremendous job, has retired, and we wish him the very best. And there is the new vice president of officiating, Carl Johnson. Carl was a line judge for years, and now he's been moved into the front office, and he will oversee all of the officials.
If they had moved that umpire during my career would have lasted about a week. I used that guy to pick the defender all the time.
3rd and 10. And McGee. And they'll just have to dump it off, and there's no place to go for Scott Sicko, who makes his 3rd catch of the night and stays in bounds as we tick down to 1:11 to play in the opening half.
Bengals going to take a timeout to get an offensive shot here. But McGee came out early and was pulling the trigger on balls. Now he's sitting there and the pressure's getting there and his head drops, and now he's running around instead of just throwing the ball. There were guys open underneath there. You've got to know where those initial checkdowns are. Get the ball out of your hand. When you start scrambling around like this, it invites more pressure. It invites more blitzes. Because they see him right now. He's not looking to throw the football. Frosty Rucker after him. He's good at moving around, but it's not really the answer in the NFL.
McBriar in punt formation for the Cowboys.
And now Adam Jones will go back to accept the kick from Matt McBriar. This is McBriar's 4th punt of the night, and it's the 10th punt overall. And the performer formerly known as Pac-Man brings the ball up to the 33-yard line.
Jones returns it to the 32.
You want to stay up to date on your favorite NFL team? You go to the one and only Pro Football Talk on NBCSports.com. Check it out. Great site. And you can play NFL.com's all new fantasy game. First and only game with video, free and easy to play. Sign up today at fantasy.nfl.com. Marvin Lewis signing up for an 8th season, but only 8 right now. His contract is up at the end of the year. And it's an ironic thing. You've got Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator. He is signed into the future, but Lewis is not at the moment, as the catch is made for a short gain there by Jordan Shipley.
Now you get a veteran quarterback in there, and certainly J.T. O'Sullivan hasn't had a great night out here, but he does get the ball out of his hand quickly. He's going to see it, read it, throw it.
3 out of 9 for 25, and he sees Leonard over the middle. And Leonard, who played a key role last year in certain situations, makes the catch here and is a little bit slow in getting up. And there'll be a runoff here because he gets hurt, the offensive team, and they come out to assist him. So
I guess they could take the timeout, right?
They could.
Yeah, you're going to see.
Cincinnati. Their third and final timeout.
And they did take it.
Umpire right here, and Brian Leonard is basically going to use him to get between him and the defender there. And you can see why the umpire isn't always so comfortable in there.
Right.
Players want to use every advantage they have.
Because Cincinnati called the timeout.
They did have that one timeout, and when in a situation like this, you're compelled to take it. If you are out of timeouts, and this looks a little more serious than it did initially with Leonard, you're out of timeouts, then you have the 10-second runoff as Ocho Cinco comes over to check out Leonard, who's a very key guy on this team, because the other fullback, Fui Vakapuna, is injured right now with a shoulder injury.
And Leonard really was, or is, a very good third down receiving back. He made a lot of third down conversions, a lot of big plays and key moments last season. See if we can figure out what happened. Well, he kind of landed on his foot.
Grabs for it. That's Leon Williams making the tackle on the play, and Leonard goes to the sideline. Jerry Jones is down on the field with his one of his many grandchildren, his grandson right there, owner of the Cowboys, and of course his most fervent wish for the next 6 months is to see his team wind up playing a home game on February the 6th at Cowboy Stadium, otherwise known as Super Bowl 45. And O'Sullivan, there's another flag, and that's going to be picked off by Danny McRae. And you saw the flag come in.
Pass was intercepted by McRae. First down, Cowboys.
I tell you, the replacements for Marcus Spears have had big nights. We saw Stephen Bowen get pressure earlier. Jason Hatcher that time coming with pressure, and saying, yeah, that's what I did. A little dip down inside there before I ripped around. Right here.
They picked up the flag, so that's why you've got no announcement from Winter here, and the play will stand.
First down, Cowboys from their 15.
Picking up the flag is a great idea with 18 seconds left in the half, I got to tell you. So Dallas on top 6-0. And McGee will take a knee. And that's the end of the first half. So no touchdowns, just a pair of field goals for the Dallas Cowboys, who outgained Cincinnati 205 yards to 67. And the score is 6-0. We'll talk with Emmitt Smith. We'll talk with Jerry Rice coming up on the Toyota Halftime Show after these messages from your NBC stations. Kramer Fawcett Stadium in Canton, where Dallas leads 6-0 as we start the second half. And the Dallas Cowboys will kick off. Quan Cosby is back. David Beeler. puts it in the air. The third quarter begins with a boomer, and that's what he did all of last year. He had more touchbacks in one season than the Cowboys had in the prior 7 combined. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, Al, for the Cowboys, tight ends Kevin Brock and John Phillips are out with an ankle and knee injury, respectively. Wade Phillips told me they're down to only 1 tight end, so they'll go primarily with 3 wide receivers and no tight ends in the second half. As for the performance of his first-team offense, Wade said he was disappointed with their ball security. Marvin Lewis also not pleased with the 9 penalties his team had in the first half. As for backup running back Brian Leonard, who we saw injured at the end of the first half, he had an X-ray on his left foot. Will not be returning.
All right, so we hope that Leonard can come back soon. And Phillips had a great first half before he got hurt, blocking and catching the football. And this is Cordero Eason carrying it, and you've got Carson's brother Jordan in at quarterback, and there will be the new Cowboy starter when the season begins on defense this year.
Yeah, one of the things the Cowboys made a decision that they were going to do is add a little athleticism to the back end. Alan Ball really the only change on the defensive side going into this season. Coaching staff feeling like that they're good enough up front with that front 7. They don't need a run support safety, just somebody can make some plays on the ball, so they moved to Alan Ball instead of Ken Hamler.
And Jordan Palmer slings this one to the outside. It'll be 3rd down and 7. Now Jordan and Carson both grew up in Southern California. Carson's the older brother. Then Jordan went to school at the University of Texas, El Paso. Redskins picked him in the 2007 draft, but he never played a game in the regular season for them. Was out of football in 08 and then signed up to back up Carson and Kitten the last season.
They say if your quarterback's happy, the world's happy. Bring his brother in, make him happy. Little study mate, seems to work.
3rd down and 7. And that pass is too high, intended for Andre Caldwell. So the younger Palmer begins with a 3-and-out series.
Well, that's been the story so far. You can take it one of 2 ways. Either the Bengals offense is having a tough night or they're getting their tails kicked by this Dallas defense. And based on what I saw from the Cowboys defense tonight and all of last season, I'm probably going to opt for the latter.
Kevin Huber is their only punter, so he sees all of the action tonight, and that's plenty of it. His 7th kick is fielded by Cletus Gordon, and Gordon gets tackled by the ankle, and the helmet comes off, and he's shaken up on the play up at the 35-yard line. So Gordon is the latest player to be shaken up. We'll check on him when we come back. Hey, and by U.S. Bank, all of us serving you, U.S. Bank. New displays in the Hall of Fame right next door. There's Gordon squinting as he comes off the field. Hit by Roderick McElroy at the end of that play, but under his own power goes to the sideline. Now from the 35-yard line, here are the Cowboys with Herb Donaldson, who fumbled the only other time he carried the ball tonight, picking up a couple of yards. Tony Romo looked good on that first series tonight, in for 1 series. Threw for 59 yards, guided him down there for a field goal. Doing a little sideline commentary.
Oh, Bob Lilly right there?
Yep.
He wasn't bad. Bob Lilly could still probably line up and play a little bit, just like Jerry Rice was talking about.
Looks like it. Inside handoff. Donaldson. Well, Tony Romo, the unquestioned leader of the Dallas Cowboys, had a great year last year, so they get to training camp in San Antonio, and they have a big pep rally down there. And here's what happened.
Oh, the things quarterbacks have to do. You got to entertain the owner on the sideline during the games, and
right,
talk to Hall of Famers.
Keep yourself in Us magazine.
Yeah, he does a good job with that too.
Get yourself on TMZ. Here's McGee. Picks up a first down.
I'll tell you, the one thing, though, I was impressed with, and there's Cowboys Stadium for my money. Well, maybe you have another one, but that's the most impressive stadium I've ever seen in my life.
Me too.
But and we're not there. I don't want anybody to think we're there tonight, but that's where the Super Bowl will be this season. But in talking to Tony Romo a little bit about last season, of course, they played well. They won their first playoff game in a long time, all that kind of stuff. But his focus is on getting the mental toughness for this team to go into a place like Minnesota and come away with the playoff win, which they were unable to do a season ago.
Now McGee winds up hitting Scott Sicko, number 86. They're down to him as the tight end with Witten gone for the night. Bennett hurt. Phillips also hurt. Kevin Brock, another tight end, and it's a 14-yard pickup.
You know, they really got in that game against Minnesota last year, and Flozell got hurt, and they were shuffling around and trying to get Jared Allen blocked, and it just sort of imploded on them. A lot of turnovers, a lot of fumbles early in that game. The crowd was going berserk. But if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you've got to go into a place like that and hold together mentally.
This time just throwing it away, really throwing it away. 2nd down and 10. Romo, good game in the wild card game against Philadelphia, but then against Minnesota, those 3 fumbles, lost 2, 1 pick, got sacked 6 times, and the Cowboys got blown out in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for me to see what goes on. I think Tony Romo's ability to escape has helped this offensive line over the years because of his mobility. Whether or not they could possibly be an even better team this year with Doug Free at that left tackle position.
Now they give it to Herb Donaldson. Donaldson, some nice speed going to the other side, and starting left and going right. That'll be a 1st down for Dallas.
Tell you, the tight ends of the Cowboys have been playing well all night. Scott Sicko here this time is going to come up with a nice block on the edge. And Herb Donaldson's going to make up for that earlier mistake of his. Get out there. This is the time that for a lot of these players, this will be the most playing time they get during the course of the preseason, because it is that 5th preseason game for the Cowboys and the Bengals.
At the 29-yard line. McGee wafting one to the end zone and throwing it out of the end zone for Ogletree. Well, we cover preseason every year, and we say the same things. 2 things happen at this point in the game. Guys are trying to win jobs either on their own roster or on somebody else's roster. If you're not going to get a job with your team, at least you have something on tape, and somebody else's personnel people can look at you and say, let's take a chance on this guy.
You got that right. And if for some reason Geno Atkins gets away from the Cincinnati Bengals, somebody else is going to pick him up. He has proven to be that interior pass rusher the Bengals have needed for a while.
And on 2nd down and 10, there is no space right there. Paying the price at the end of the play. And carrying the ball for the first time for the Cowboys is Lanye Miller, a rookie from Fresno State.
Hey, and Michael Johnson has been the other one, and that combination looked pretty good tonight too, didn't it? Looks good just standing there. Michael Johnson made the transition to stand-up linebacker, and he doesn't even want to come out of the game. He's been having fun. Get some of those defensive linemen, let them take their hand off the ground. All of a sudden, they think they're a real athlete. But I thought that Terrell Owens and Carson Palmer tonight played well together. Hit a few passes, and they didn't unveil any of those deep things they've been working on, though.
Right off the bat, Carson saying, I'm going to call your number. That's making sure it's thrown away. Yep. Not too often do you get a souvenir in the first row at the 50-yard line.
There they are. Going to be one of the most talked about combinations. I talked about it a little bit, and here comes Beeler back on the field again. He's hit his first 2, and really this is more in his range right here. This is going to be, for him, the distance will be no issue at all. He's backed up. He's been trying them in practice from 63 yards.
49-yard attempt. McBriar with the hold. Well, yeah. So that's a 300-yard drive, but you hit it off the hospitality tent.
I think Tiger can feel his pain.
Yeah. 6-0 Dallas. Spot because they want to keep him as the kickoff man. He was brilliant in that role last year. He misses this one way wide to the left. So 2 for 3 tonight. Still the only points in the game off his foot, and now an interception on the first play as Brandon Williams is inside the 20 and gets taken down by Palmer at about the 10-yard line to save the touchdown. '59, wide open over the middle. Unfortunately, he's in white and blue.
Well, Brandon Williams right here is going to step up and then go right over here back to the other side. Oh, I'm sorry. He's right on the end line of scrimmage on the outside and drop back underneath that slant. There really was nothing too fancy about that at all. It wasn't any great mystery. I just don't think that Jordan ever saw him. I'll tell you, for Brandon Williams, a guy that missed last season with a knee injury, pretty good way to start this season.
First and goal now for the Dallas Cowboys from the 9-yard line. This is Donaldson. Gets 3. Line of scrimmage will be the 6. It will be second down and goal.
Yeah, the Cowboys really have some good young linebackers on this team. We just saw Brandon Williams, and they like him, and Jason Williams, a third-round pick, their highest pick a season ago. They like him, and Leon Williams and Victor Butler, and they feel really good. And Keith Brooking and Brady James are definitely still the starters, but nice to have some guys that you have confidence in coming up the ranks.
And Sean Lee is hurt. He's not playing, and that one is tipped up in the air and then alertly batted away by McGee.
Yeah, it's a great point, Al. Sean Lee is a guy that they've been really impressed with. He's had the quad injury and hasn't had much of a chance to practice thus far, but what little they've seen has been enough. They have been really excited by him. Pretty good play that time by McGee. Just heads up to knock it down. Rusty Rucker had a shot out.
Third down and goal now. 9 minutes left in a game without a touchdown. And still without one as that pass is low, underthrown. Sam Hurd, the intended receiver, and Beeler will now come in for a very short field goal after missing a long one. Beeler's night tonight. First drive ends with a very short field goal. Same distance as an extra point. 20 yards out. Another short one. That was an indication that something not too favorable would happen later. Tees off on the first and hits it to the 9th fairway there. And now we'll try another one from very makeable distance, 23 yards. McBriar to put it down, and that one is perfect. So with 9:03 remaining now in the third quarter, Dallas 9, Cincinnati nothing. Next up, Ricky Jackson visiting with Andrea.
Player he was. Saints had never had a winning season until he got there and started doing things like that to Boomer Esiason and company. As good a pass rusher as he was, and that's what he was recognized for, I think he made the Hall of Fame as a complete player. Wade Phillips was talking about what an incredible run defender he was. And boy, he made a difference for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, Wade was on the coaching staff, so we saw it firsthand. Touchback here, the subject of Ricky.
Well, I mean, you know, I didn't want to miss the first game, so, you know, fortunately, coach helped me out, but, you know, with the cage and stuff that I had on the face mask, I could have still played, but he decided to hold me out.
You had your jaw wired shut. That's pretty good. Now, as for the Dome Patrol, Pat Swilling, Vaughn Johnson, the late Sam Mills, and yourself, what was special about that unit?
All of us worked hard, all of us are smart, and we kind of fed off of one another, know what each other were going to do, and we put a lot of time together and studied the film, and we know what the offensive team is going to do.
All right, Ricky, thanks very much. We appreciate it. And Al, you were just talking about Wade Phillips being his linebacker coach. Well, Wade Phillips said that Anthony Spencer is like Ricky Jackson, pretty high praise.
Yeah, Anthony Spencer really coming on. And the funny thing about Spencer, Anthony Spencer, much like Jackson,
play, makes it third down.
Plays in the, well, there was no foul, just a kneel down. Much like Anthony Spencer, Ricky Jackson always played kind of a second fiddle role, even going back to college, because DeMarcus Ware is the guy in Dallas. I mean, he's going to be your number one pass rusher. Spencer came on last year, and he's always going to be the other guy. As a toss is taken here, and a first down is gained by Scott. But going back, Chris, to when Ricky Jackson was at the University of Pittsburgh. On the other side, people are going to overlook you.
Well, what does that make Ricky Jackson? He made the Hall of Fame. You
Right.
greened it. He's got to be a double horse.
He's a horse and 3/4 right
there
now.
There you go. I remember Hugh Green, though, too. He was tough.
1st and 10. And then the same thing as Andrea pointed out, the Dome Patrol. I mean, you had a lot of publicity going to Vaughn Johnson, certainly Pat Swilling, Sam Mills through the years, and then Ricky was just one of the guys.
Yeah, pretty good one of the guys.
Yep.
So you talked a little bit about Anthony Spencer, and of course DeMarcus Ware is the star, and he goes to all the Pro Bowls and all those things. But Anthony Spencer, remember, he was a guy that was a defensive end in college. They make the shift, stand him up to outside linebacker. I tell you, about halfway through the season last year, a light went on for him. He was pretty incredible. And one of the reasons, let me get the call.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 53. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
And they're convinced that for Anthony Spencer, one of the reasons was that playing linebacker was so completely different that he would see things, but he would sort of hesitate, and he would, not just fire right away. And then about mid-season last year, he didn't have any sacks. They felt like that mentally he was catching up to the position, and when those reads got faster, all of a sudden he started getting some of those sacks. And this is turning it into a little bit of a circus out here, isn't it?
Well, but especially with the beach ball coming into the picture as the flag comes in.
Offense number 79. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
That's Isaac Souls. So how many penalties have we had in the game? You want to know? 14.
And how many of them by the Bengals?
10.
Yeah. This has not been what Marvin Lewis was looking for. There's so many young players. Your starters only play maybe one drive, and even they didn't really have any success.
On 2nd down and 10. And Jordan Palmer gets swallowed up. Steve Octavian talking about DeMarcus Ware, that Cowboy defense last year. They were great. Wade Phillips really taking control of that defense. You talked about Alan Ball will be the new starter there. Spencer's coming on. Marcus Spears, though, is hurt, and he's going to be out for probably the entire preseason, so that could be a little bit problematic for them along the line. Third and 15. And Palmer's throw is caught by Jerome Simpson. Stays in bounds at the 34-yard line.
A lot of speed in this matchup. Simpson, a former number 2 draft pick of the Bengals, who has one career catch, has been a major disappointment working against Teddy Williams in that 9.9 speed of his. But it was 3rd down and 20, and they got 10, so Teddy's going to give him that one.
Huber to punt. Jamar Wall, a rookie from Texas Tech, is back to return it. Moving over to field it. Ill-advised move because running right into him. Royce Curvey, number 14. Dick LeBeau, the new Hall of Famer. Great defensive back, tremendous defensive coordinator. We'll hear from him when we come back.
Tell you that you're too old to do this or you're too old to do that. Stay in life. Life is a gift. My mother always said, onward and upward. Age is just a number. God love you all. Thank you.
Dick LeBeau and most of the Pittsburgh Steelers made the trek across the Ohio-Pennsylvania border to be here last night when he was inducted. Herb Donaldson, the ball carrier there. Dick LeBeau down on the field with it.
Which one to go into the Hall of Fame as? I take playing every time.
And yet, look at your players. Even back in 2007, when they came here to this game, they wore your 44 jerseys. And now I remember that Dick LeBeau has received Father's Day cards from both past and present players, and even Troy Polamalu called him the greatest coach of all time.
Well, a lot of people think very, very high.
To do it, but he shoots under his age all the time. A great golfer, and still reads to his players, it was the night before Christmas, every Christmas Eve at practice, and they go nuts.
Every time I see him, I say, I need a golf tip. He goes, take it back low and slow, bro. Dick LeBeau. $2 million, so they get him fairly cheaply, but there are the incentives. So you have a $333,000 bonus for reaching all of the following plateaus. So it's an incentive-laden contract. But the one thing that strikes us, Chris, is the fact that now you're putting a guy in a position where he has to start thinking about himself at a certain point in the season.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing. I mean, if you want to, here we go.
Yeah, here's Mac Jones, another guy with a checkered past that Cincinnati has taken a chance with, and the former Jacksonville Jaguar takes the ball across the 50, and that's the first time that Cincinnati has been over the 50-yard line tonight.
Well, Matt Jones, a guy set out football a season ago, just catches the ball, and that was Jamar Wall, who took a little too big a chance without any help in behind him. But for Matt Jones, it hasn't been an overly impressive camp. Maybe that play will help him get on track.
6'6" receiver, and there's Williams banging right into the face of Cordero Eason, the Mississippi rookie. But let's go back to Owens. Aren't you putting him in a position where, if he's coming up upon some of those plateaus, he's going to say, I got to get the ball?
Yes, exactly. And if your issue going in is he going to have any problems being a little selfish? Is there going to be too much competition catching the ball with Chad? The last thing in the world you want to do is put one of those incentive contracts for number of touchdowns, number of catches, whatever. And so I'm sure that because of what the contract was, it wasn't a huge number. I think it was $2 million with $2 million worth of incentives. But it probably would have been better served had it been tied to wins or making the playoffs or winning a Super Bowl.
Andrea, you're our staff CFO. What do you think about this?
Well, I'll tell you, I spoke to Marvin Lewis about this before the game, and he made it clear to me that they don't normally do contracts like that. But I pressed him over and over again. He said he was not concerned about Terrell Owens just trying to get the numbers. He said that the fact that he's got the opportunity to have to get those numbers, that he was willing to do the dirty work to get those numbers, moving around in a bunch of different spots as a receiver, gave him no concerns. As Marvin told me, it's a play-for-pay league.
Well, that's, I think, something that you can say on August the 8th, but I'm not sure you can say that on December the 12th.
Well, the only thing that I would say about that is in Buffalo, he did a pretty nice job of keeping it together. And I watched a lot of that Buffalo tape getting ready for this game. And that was not the most exciting offense in the world last year, and it would have been very easy for him to really get frustrated, take it out on some of those young quarterbacks, but he really didn't. So I think the Bengals had a little confidence that maybe they could take a little bit more of a chance with him this time around than maybe what you would have done after Dallas or San Francisco or Philadelphia. So the feeling is that they hope they get the good Terrell.
We'll see. There's Mike Brown, the president, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, and one of the few owners. Jerry Jones would be another who is intimately involved in all of the player personnel moves. 2nd and 7. And they keep feeding Eason. And Eason gets bumped out of bounds, and we have a penalty.
Holding. Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
I want to go back and make one point, though, Al, that I did kind of quickly before. In watching those tapes, the thing that was shocking to me almost, because it seemed like no teams were really interested in Terrell Owens. He was out there and the price kept dropping, and the Bengals finally got him for like $2 million. I said he must have really lost a step last year in Buffalo. But when you put on the tape, he ran by people. He was intimidating people with his speed, and what Carson Palmer reported back was we need that speed guy on the outside, and they think it's going to be Terrell Owens.
2nd and 17. And that pass, official goes over for a better look and says incomplete. Bobble juggled it, going out of bounds.
But it's really going to be a tough situation this year. What are you going to do defensively? You've got Cedric Benson, who ran for 1,200 yards a season ago. You've got Chad on one side, T.O. on the other. And we haven't even talked about Jermaine Gresham, the #1 tight end out of Oklahoma a season ago. And you got a guy that does stylish stuff on the sideline and everything. But this big guy is the weapon that Marvin Lewis says he's dreamed of having. He'd been trying to draft a complete tight end like Gresham for a long time, and he finally got him.
And once more incomplete. So the Bengals are able to cross the 50-yard line and then bog down there. And the team tonight with a total of 131 yards and 3.1 yards per play. That won't get you many points, and it's gotten them none so far. There's Gresham out of Oklahoma, played there with Sam Bradford. And through the years, tight end has been a major problem for the Bengals. It's going all the way back to what, Rodney Holman?
Dan Ross was a great one way back.
Yep. 4th and 17, they'll go for it, and they're going to pick up the first down. 4th and 17. That is Chase Kaufman. Speaking of tight ends, second-year man out of Missouri who got hurt last year. They drafted him, hoping that he would solve the tight end woes. 21-yard gain, and that's going to take us to the end of the quarter. Lots to talk about in the fourth quarter. A lot going on around the NFL, as you know. That's the end of the third quarter. The Cowboys leading the Bengals by a score of 9-0. We'll talk about Brett Favre. Everybody talks about Brett Favre. Talk about Hainsworth and a few other things when we come back after these words from your local station. Mondays on NBC. Fourth quarter, Canton, Ohio. Al Michaels, Cris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer. 9-0 Dallas. And Cincinnati with the ball at the 15 after a 4th and 17 conversion, and the ball is on the ground at the 11-yard line, and all of the Cowboys are pointing in their direction. They certainly have it. Waiting for one of the striped shirts, and there it is as the umpire signals Dallas recovery on a fumble by Cordera Eason.
Looked like Jimmy Sadler McQueen's the one that came across there and got that thing out. And for a young man trying to make a football team, fumbling on a tough night when your offense has been really challenged, once you get inside the 15-yard line, is not a good way.
Steve Octavian got in there, and Josh Brent, a rookie from Illinois, recovered. An insult to injury. Eason. It's over deep in its own territory. Early fourth quarter. Cowboys lead 9-0. And McGee hands the ball off to the up back. It is the fullback, Chris Gronkowski, rookie from Arizona. And the one guy on that Cincy D having a big night tonight is that big 6'7" Johnson.
He's creating some good problems for Marvin Lewis. They've taken a defensive end who typically rushes with his hand on the ground and have stood him up to play outside linebacker, and he's been a nightmare for the Cowboys all night long, and specifically Stephen McGee. He's going to get him again here, but the ramifications of this is now what do you got to do? You got to get him on the field somewhere, and does that mean Ray Maluga goes inside?
Second down and 8, and the catch is made on the near sideline. Terrell Owens, the rookie from Elon, making a nice grab and staying in bounds.
Well, Hudgens is a guy that's used to catching the football. He had a remarkable career in college. 395 catches, 5,250 yards. Those are Jerry Rice numbers coming out of college. Perfect throw and nice job catching the football.
From the 25-yard line. McGee. Second down. So the question, of course, the offseason always full of stories and much more drama to come. Whether Brett Favre, I mean, all of a sudden last week for a couple of hours, he's texting his teammates. It looks like he's done. That turns out to be semi-bogus. That's a lot of stuff does in the offseason. So here we are. So what does it do? It comes down to the ankle, I guess, right? Can he play on that ankle?
Yeah, well, here's one of the toughest guys that's ever played the quarterback position ever, never misses a game, and I'm sure he doesn't want to be remembered as a guy that can't play if in fact the ankle is an issue. But you know, we've just seen Brett do his Lazarus act so many times in the past, you just tend to think that somehow, some way, eventually he will come back and take one more shot, because that was one heck of a football team they had last year. And but for the ankle injury in the game against the Saints, remember, they turned it over 5 times down there in that game and still had a chance to win it at the end. And maybe if Brett doesn't sprain his ankle in that game or hurt his ankle, they might have gone on and won the Super Bowl.
They could have, and that might have made it. Maybe he would have retired then.
Right.
I just don't think, you don't want to go out with that being your last pass and that being your last game, as was the case, remember, in 07 when it looked like he was going to retire from the Green Bay Packers after they were upset by the Giants at Lambeau Field. And that catch was made here by Jesse Holley. I've heard some people say, Favre loves this attention and he needs it, and he's a bit of a megalomaniac. Look, we know him. I don't see that at all. I think this is just a matter of, is he healthy enough? Can he play? Can he do what he has to do to perform at the level he wants to perform at?
He doesn't mind attention, though, right?
Well, he doesn't mind it, but I don't think he goes. He doesn't go out and seek it.
I agree with you. I think that he would love to take a shot to go out like John Elway with the World Championship, and that team is set to do that. They are ready. They are talented. They have great young talent, and if he's healthy, and even if he's not quite 100% healthy, I still think he comes back. And the interesting thing could be is, does he necessarily have to be there on opening night? And I'm sure that debate's going to come up as well.
This is a roughing the passer call against Frosty Rucker.
Frosty Rucker came clean and got a shot at the end of that one. Kind of tough sometimes for a defensive player right there. Yeah, they're going to protect the quarterbacks. You can bet on that. I don't think Frosty cares. He got a shot.
He could have used the Frosty, but not that one. 1st and 10. The ball is at the 43-yard line. Ball is handed off to Miller. Okay, so 32 days till the opener. You know that Brett's not going to play preseason, if maybe one game at the end, who knows.
Right.
So we're in New Orleans. We're doing the game on NBC. I say 60-40 he's there. What do you say?
I think better than that. I'm relatively confident that he will be able to do something. Remember, he went back in that championship game on that ankle and managed to get through that one. I just think that he has a passion to go out as world champion. And as you look at the Minnesota Vikings, Sidney Rice and Percy Harvin and Adrian Peterson, it's a loaded football team. And they have a great opportunity to do it. And if Brett's playing, they're one of the favorites. And if he's not, they're probably more 5th, 6th pick in the NFC.
It's Miller making the catch. I'm saying 60-40, he's there opening night. But I'm also going to then say 85-15, he's there at some point during the season. So what I'm saying here is that if he's not healthy enough for opening night, that doesn't mean he necessarily has to retire. Maybe he's ready to go by the end of September, early October.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think they have 3 games to start the season and then a bye week. So there are plenty of possibilities in there for a return at some point. But if Brett's sitting there in Minnesota and they're getting ready for opening night, in my wildest imagination, I can't create a scenario where he's not saying, you know what, Chili, I got this. I'm good. Let's go.
Cowboys to punt on 4th down. And like most preseason games, a lot of penalties and a lot of punts. This will be the 14th of the night. McBriar to send it down to Jordan Shipley. Can he bat it back into the field of play is the question. And he can. Emmanuel Johnson able to bat the ball before it gets into the end zone. Nice play. Andrea talks with Tony Romo when we come back. Volleyball move. The new busts on display. Can the high ball at the 1-yard line. And giving them some breathing room is Tronzo. What about Tony Romo? His thoughts. Here's Andrea.
Thanks very much, Al. Well, hate to bring this up, but when we last saw the Cowboys, you're getting thumped by the Vikings 34-3. What do you take away from that loss?
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up. That was nice.
I warned you. Come on.
No, I think you always learn in those situations. In each offseason that we go into, I think you try to improve, you know.
Yes. Hold on, back to Al.
Okay, and Tony says yes. You can spot it from the sideline right there. He is intercepted by Brandon Sharp and run in for the first touchdown of the 2010 preseason. Brandon Sharp, a rookie from Texas Tech.
Brandon Sharp's going to just drop back into this zone right here. Looked like he was going to rush for a minute and then falls back underneath the route. And so for the second time tonight, Jordan Palmer gets surprised by a dropping linebacker. And this one goes the other way. Pretty impressive showing tonight by these Cowboys young linebackers. Of course, we all know that their veteran ones are pretty good, but they've been making plays all over the field.
Talk about Ware and Spencer and Brooking, and then we're seeing all these other young guys come along. There was Dave Campo working with the defense now. 3 years back at the beginning of the decade, the head coach of the team. Bealer's extra point. He's just good again. He's going to make every kick an adventure. 16-0. Back to Andrea.
All right, so back to what you were talking about, what you learned from the Vikings' loss in the playoffs.
Well, I think what I was saying is just that we all learn from those situations, and you gotta use it as a teaching tool, you know, as a unit and individually. And you know, there's some mental toughness involved with the team overcoming a difficult situation like that, and you know, I think we've learned a lot.
Now, last year, you passed for a career high in yardage and became the first quarterback in team history to take every snap. Now, you always talk about room for improvement.
Yeah.
What did you fine-tune in the offseason?
Well, for me, one of the most enjoyable aspects of sports in general really is really attacking something that was a weakness or something that you may not have been as good as somebody else in the league, per se, and try and and get better to the point where you feel as that's a strength the next year. And, you know, every year I feel as though there's something I'm developing, and I don't want to go into detail with what but I got something I'm pretty excited about.
All right. Des Bryant, there's been a lot of hype about him. What are your initial impressions of your rookie wide receiver?
He's done good. You know, he's a hard-working kid. He's definitely got some ability, and he's got really good hands, and he understands, you know, space and where to be, and so he's got a bright future. And I suspect he'll be ready to go when we first start the season.
And what kind of factor do you think he can be this season?
Well, I mean, he's a rookie, so there's always, you have to wait and see. He got off to a good start in training camp. Like I said, he was in good shape. He's working hard, and he's definitely going to provide some depth at that position for sure.
Now, Jerry Jones has made no bones about the fact that he'd like to see his team playing in its home stadium in the Super Bowl. And, of course, we heard you say we'll see you in Dallas at the Super Bowl. How do you manage the expectations and the pressures?
Well, you don't manage them. You have to get better today. And, you know, all that stuff in January, February is just, you know, fluff. It's meaningless right now. It's strictly about us coming out here and trying to find a way to get in the end zone and get a stop. And I think that you stack those days together as far as getting better and improving. You give yourself and your team a great chance to be there at the end.
All right, Al and Chris spent a lot of time talking about Brett Favre. Will he or won't he? You grew up in Wisconsin, big fan of his back then. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, you know, I don't pretend to know what Brett's thinking, but, you know, I would assume that he'll be coming back. It's a great opportunity, I think. That organization has a lot of, you know, the pieces in place, and I know Brett loves the game. So from that perspective, I'd be surprised if he didn't come back.
Tony, thank you so much, and we're going to look forward to seeing you week 1.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Andrea. We will see Tony week 1 because that's our first Sunday night game when Dallas goes to Washington, and Washington begins the Mike Shanahan and Donovan McNabb era. So a lot of changes in the NFC East with the other 3 teams, apart from the Dallas Cowboys, who stayed pretty simple. Matt Jones making the catch here.
I'll tell you, Matt Jones had a pretty good showing here. He's a guy that they talked about him in practice, and when you watch him run, it's like a slow motion tape or something. I mean, it's like this. And he comes off the ball, and his legs are so long that he just doesn't look very quick or very sudden. So they're trying to quicken him up. And I don't know that they could ever do that. But this is a guy that ran like a 4.3 something at the combine. He was a quarterback in college. And he has a big, wide catching radius. And as we saw in Jacksonville with him, you get it close, he'll grab it.
And that's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Let me ask you one question about the Bengals. There's Marcus Dixon knocking it down. I mean, you know, you live there, you played for him, you understand the operation. I can understand the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders have always been the Mavericks, and they sign a lot of guys with checkered histories, and, you know, have gotten away with some of them. But the Bengals are one of the more conservative teams in one of the more conservative areas. I lived there. I know, you know, for 3 years. I get it. And Mike Brown would be, you would think, one of the more conservative owners, the son of Paul Brown. And they've been known for not spending a lot of money through the years. And then over the years, as the catch is made here by Cosby, they have taken more chances. And, of course, it's become an embarrassment through the years because they lead the league in police blotter appearances. So explain to me the dynamic of all of those things, and then they take a chance on almost everybody, including Mac Jones, Pac-Man Jones, and all of the rest.
I think because of Marvin Lewis. I really think that Mike Brown believes that Marvin Lewis has the ability to transform some of these guys into good NFL players that can be turned around off the field as well. So that really has been the reason. And Marvin's, you know, he's been able to fix a few, and every once in a while one goes the other way too. But when you first talk about Marvin Lewis, he said, when I got to Cincinnati, we did not have enough talent, so we had to take some chances on guys.
It's Victor Butler who gets the sack here and forces another Cincinnati punt. But I always thought at some point Mike Brown would say, you know, I can't do this because it just doesn't play well.
Well, neither does losing.
Right.
And they wanted to get on that W side for a little while, too.
That's a punt that was almost fielded, and then they let it go into the end zone. So back to the 20. That's where the next drive will begin. Opener of the 2010 preseason schedule. 16-0 Cowboys. Debut, but he makes a little something out of it as Lonnie Miller, a rookie from Fresno State, makes the catch, gain of 2.
Hey, if you're the 4th-string quarterback, if it goes on the ground, you're picking it up and throwing it. You know you're not getting many chances. And this is a guy that's used to throwing the ball. He had over 1,000 passes in college, so he's comfortable back there. Kind of a bright guy, knows what he's doing. Take your shot, big guy.
Second down at 8. Miller. And that's Atkins. Geno Atkins making a mark tonight. The rookie out of Georgia. Picked him in the 4th round.
Well, Michael Johnson's made an impression, but this guy has made an equal impression right here. He has been too quick, comes off the double team there, and makes the play in the backfield. They were impressed, but you never know. You know, guys show in training camp, and they go, man, he looks pretty good. And then sometimes the bright lights come on and they disappear. Well, you know, Atkins and Michael Johnson, they didn't disappear tonight. Paul Brown used to say, you play like you practice, son. And those two guys have.
3rd and 11. And Nichols buying time, and then is able to complete the pass to Scott Sicko, but short of the 1st down. Nichols out of Eastern Washington. John Kittler, who played his college ball at Central Washington. My longtime statistician, George Hill, from the state of Washington. Eastern Washington, that's in the Palouse, right, George? It is. Got to get a Palouse mention at least once a year.
No question. Jordan Shipley going back, and if he could win a job as a punt returner, it would certainly add to his resume in Cincinnati.
Matt McBriar to the 33-yard line. And Shipley dropped at that spot by Jesse Holley. 4.5 to go in the Hall of Fame game. 16-zip Dallas.
Well, you want to see a little double. Jordan and Carson. Check that one out. I mean, that's dead on, isn't it? You switch numbers, and I'm not sure I could tell the difference right there. You shave that little semi-mustache and beard.
About a 4 or 5 year difference between the brothers.
I think the defenses could tell the difference.
Yeah. Film doesn't lie. Now, Albert Hainsworth. We'll talk about him for a second. You all know about Hainsworth. Left Tennessee. Washington signed him to a humongous contract. Didn't play well last year. Upset with a change in the defensive scheme in Washington after Mike Shanahan takes over and Jim Haslett comes in to run the defense. Doesn't report for very much off-season duty. Then comes to camp and Mike runs him through a bunch of conditioning tests, which he doesn't pass as Jones makes the catch. Thought it was down along the sideline, but he's all right. And then finally he passed the conditioning test. Now his knee hurts him again. What do you think? What do you
I think he really passed it. Now, you and I both know Mike Shanahan. He was my offensive coordinator at the University of Florida. He brought Albert out there, 6 a.m. to try that conditioning test one more time, just the two of them, and maybe he gave him that friendly watch. A big guy like that, you got to get him back on the field at some point. They're asking him, maybe he made a settlement. Listen, you play nose tackle, and we'll figure out a way to get around this conditioning test.
But now, I mean, with a situation and that pass caught along the sidelines, and that's Matt Jones making another nice play. But sooner or later, Wither Hainsworth in the 3-4.
Well, Wade,
you really need to do that.
Well, Wade's even looked disgusted himself.
Yeah, Wade does a very half-hearted kind of like
16-0.
16-0. I'm kind of trying. I wouldn't mind getting on the plane, and we'll go back to Dallas.
Well, the Challenger ruling on the field.
Right.
On a completed pass.
Dave Campa was right there to signal no. And the chances are that this is going to be overturned. Only 1 foot in.
Was the back foot on the ground though when the catch was made?
I don't believe so.
You and I can't help ourselves, Dan. We're gonna milk this one for all it's worth.
We're milking everything. Fourth quarter preseason. You got the whole cow.
There you go. Yep, it was off the ground. You're right, as usual.
And you're right about 16% of the time these days.
Government work. Paid $100 million, and yes, he shouldn't be complaining. He should be running to work every day. Where do you want to line me up, coach? But he wouldn't be the only 3-technique tackle in the world that would complain if you put him at nose tackle. Because at nose tackle, you play the 3-technique in between that guard and tackle gap. There are 2 guys that might hit you on any given play. You line up at nose tackle, there are 3 guys that can chop out your knees on any given play. Guys don't want to be in there.
Give me one small favor. If you walk down the street in Columbus, he said, explain what a 3-technique tackle is to 100 people. 1 might tell you what it is, right? Maybe a high school coach. Would you say tell everybody what a 3-technique tackle is?
I'd be looking for Jim Tressel if I was going to try that experiment out there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the tackle position that's in between the guard and the tackle, and in most 4-man lines, his job is to penetrate and get up the field, a la John Randall, Warren Sapp, those kind of guys were the great ones that could do it.
The B gap or the A gap?
It would be the B gap.
I know. Right? I'm just saying, I'm hearing all this stuff all week long. I'm going, guys, explain what you're talking about. People have no idea when you talk about a 3-technique and the A and B gap, right?
You know, it's not that complicated. It's
right.
Because there are football players on the other end of this thing. So the A gap is the first gap, the B gap is the second gap, the 1 hole or the 3 hole, and that's basically where it comes from. Everybody's going to check out their equipment here. A little instant replay is going to try, and Dave Campo's into it. He doesn't want to give up any more on his defensive backs. I'll tell you what, Dave Campo's done a heck of a job with this secondary. They are talented. What he did with Mike Jenkins and turning him around. Orlando Scandrick's getting better.
After review, the receiver did not have 2 feet in bounds when he made control of the ball. Therefore, it's an incomplete pass. Makes it 4th down and 11. Cincinnati ball.
Like we didn't know.
Dallas is not charged with a timeout.
That was funny though, watching Wade sort of disgustedly throwing it like, oh, I can't. This is like kicking the extra point to send this to overtime.
Well, you got Campo saying he's out. You got Wade knowing he's out. You got Wade taking the challenge flag out because it's it's what you do, and then you're thinking to yourself, oh no, wait a minute, it's 16-0. It's the 4th quarter. As Shania Twain would say, whatever. Huber's punt. And it's a fair catch made by Jamar Wall. Well, we've got opening night coming up on September the 9th. There was Michael Strahan coming in when the Giants had won the Super Bowl the following year, and the bus went back to Pittsburgh, and New England celebrated, and so did Indianapolis, and it's become a tradition for the opener to be in the home of the prior year's Super Bowl champions, and thus the tradition continues when we go to New Orleans for the opener on NBC on Thursday night, September the 9th, and it's the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints.
I don't think it'll be loud or noisy or excited fans down there, do you?
We'll have to borrow Drew Brees' son's headphones.
How about our 2 games?
Noise blockouts.
We have the opener down there and we have Halloween night down there. How about that combination?
Yeah, look, we've both been to New Orleans alike. Every night is Halloween down there.
Oh, I like New Orleans. That's a heck of a city. It is going to be fun. Of course, it's really a rematch of what arguably was the best game of the season last year. All the pressure, the back and forth nature, 2 great quarterbacks going at it, up and down the field, overcoming turnovers, and it comes down to a last-second kick. It was as good as this league can offer for a championship game.
2nd and 4. And that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning in Canton, Ohio. Dallas Cowboys tonight have outgained the Bengals 299 to 178. 1 touchdown in the game, and it was scored by the defense. There's Rich Dalrymple, the great public relations maven of the Cowboys, going over things with Romo. 2-minute warning.
That's the good news tonight.
Yep. 3rd and 1, and that's a nice defensive play right there. As Pat Sims, 3rd-year man out of Auburn, crashes into Lanye Miller. Well, the one thing you want to do in preseason, the first thing is come away without injury. Cincinnati just took a timeout, but that has not been the case tonight. We've had a few. There they are for the Cowboys. John Phillips really had a great first half before he went out with a knee injury. Then Brian Leonard, who is a very key guy for Cincinnati's offense with the foot. We saw Crocker get hurt on special teams. And Eason, after that fumble, leaves with a foot injury.
Hey, John Phillips had a nice night tonight there, didn't he? Comes in, Martellus Bennett not playing in this one. Caught the ball early on. That's a tough catch right there. Lead blocker in the backfield. Good Frosty Rucker out of there. Down on the line of scrimmage. That's when he got hurt. Important part of this offense, though.
And McBriar's boot. 35-yard line. Shipley. And Shipley giving Cincinnati something to cheer about. Gets by McBriar. He's inside the 10. And he's rolled out of bounds at about the 2-yard line. That's a 64-yard run back for the rookie out of Texas.
Happiest guy in the team other than Shipley right now is Carson Palmer. He's selling this kid to everybody. He really thinks he's something special. Maybe not the purest flat-out speed, but you see the quickness. You see the physical nature of his play. And as Carson said, you never have to tell him the same thing twice. He gets it. I really think that you're going to see Jordan Shipley getting a lot of playing time this season, especially if Antonio Bryant can't come back from that knee injury.
And all the Longhorn fans know all about that. He was a great punt returner in Austin. This is Bernard Scott, who probes the middle and gets about halfway to the goal line.
Actually, Shipley broke the records of Roy Williams, the Cowboys receiver there. Well, now, you know, Al, we could have a touchdown, 2-point conversion, another touchdown, onside kick, 2-point conversion, tie this thing right up.
Well, wash your mouth out with soap. Second and goal at the 1. Under a minute to play. And Palmer, chase, fires back of the end zone, caught, touchdown. And that is Darius Hill with his first catch of the night to make it 16-6.
Here, going to come all the way across the field. Jordan Palmer just going to buy a little time. Did a nice job evading Victor Butler. Darius Hill's got one that he's going to remember for a while.
I don't understand.
Not going to go for two.
Well, they're lining up to kick an extra point.
You know what? At this point, it may be more important for him to see Dave Rayner kick than to try to win the game.
That I can't believe. Well, I think he's seen enough of Dave Rayner kick. He just barely makes the extra point. Well, the Bengals, they called that timeout before the fourth down play to save time.
I think Marvin feels the same way about overtime that you do.
He may, in preseason especially.
I think Marvin may have seen enough tonight, too.
Right. I never understood overtime in preseason. 2 weeks, we have one more preseason game. A lot of storylines around this one. We go to San Francisco in 2 weeks, where the 49ers, under Mike Singletary, an emerging team, play the Vikings. And by that point, a fortnight from now, we're going to know a lot more about the Brett Favre situation. So his name may come up during the telecast.
I would think that's kind of move day, isn't it? I mean, if he's going to come back and play in that opener, that's about the time he would have to sort of wander in. I don't think he'll play in that preseason game. Maybe he will. But that would be about decision-making time for the opener.
And that'll be our final preseason game before we start the regular season on the 9th.
Boy, yeah, I tell you, these Cowboys players got some rough haircuts from the veteran. That's Sam Young, that's the young man from Notre Dame. There's Parker. Oh boy, the offensive lineman paid a heavy price for the love the veterans were going to lay on him.
I'd rather come carry somebody's shoulder pads. Jamal Wall.
But you know, the worst one that I saw over the weekend, the old Gator quarterback, Tim Tebow, that one was not good.
Yeah.
There's a haircut for you. They're not going to touch his hair. They would pay a heavy price for that.
Well, he and Kyle Orton, and
there he is, the Gator legend. Oh boy, there's female football fans all over the country cringing on that one. The heartthrob.
Looking for a cameo in Monk.
Got to take it, though, as a rookie. You better be willing to stand there and take it. You got me singing plenty of nights. Although Kenny Riley, remember Kenny Riley?
Sure.
Kenny Riley,
defensive
the rattler, you know, great defensive back. His line was, Chris, whatever you do, when they get you to sing, you had to stand up on a chair and sing and all that kind of stuff. The key to it is you got to act like you love it. Like this is the greatest thing that ever happened. If you get embarrassed, they'll get you up there every night. Go up there and act like you're, you know, ready to sing before the world, and they'll never ask you to do it again.
Did you ever sing anything from the album? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
What I had left.
I'm going to take you to the REO Speedwagon concert next week.
Can't wait.
And then Jay and the Americans the week after. That's the end of the Hall of Fame game. 16-7, the Dallas Cowboys knock off the Cincinnati Bengals. And in 2 weeks, San Francisco's the site, 49ers and the Vikings. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, your late local news starting at midnight Eastern, Dateline NBC. Now this is Al Michaels for Cris Collinsworth. Andrea Kramer, our producer Fred Cadelli. Our director, Juresikov, Malibu, Kelly Hayes, George Hill, Kenny Hurt, the entire gang saying good night from Canton, Ohio. You've been watching NBC Sunday Night Football.
NBC Sports thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.